Alright, so this training is on ways of using the receiving form and other forms in Oracle in case you guys or anybody has any issues using them. These are just like shortcuts or other ways of doing things. So if you are ever looking for a container, let's say that you're looking for a receiving container, to receive a container, and your procedure right now calls for you to enter your warehouse and the container number. So what that does is the system, as soon as you click find, as soon as you click find, the system is going to look for any item that matches that information, like the warehouse and the container number exactly. But let's say that you typed a container number that doesn't come up, and the system gives you an error that you typed is not found or cannot find it. So in that case, a typical error will be a typo because a 0 can be mistaken by a O or a 1 by a 1 or examples like that. So when that happens, you can just leave the warehouse there and leave everything blank, or just use pieces of information that you know that you have. But if you want to do a more broad search, you can just leave it open and click find, and what that does is going to bring everything that is open. So from here you can just scroll down, and maybe by doing so you will find, like, yes, it was a typo, I have the container here, and then you can just receive it. If you don't receive it, then you can just send an email to supply chain or myself, Hector Ocampo, and we'll help you find it or enter in the system. So that's one way of doing it. Let's say that this list is too big. One function the Oracle has is that you can extract the information into an Excel file. So for example, we're gonna show you how to do that. Here in the as long as your cursor is in one of the fields and all of these pieces of data, then you are ready to export it. And the way you do that is, again, you can place the cursor here, and then you go to File and Export, and it's going to tell you it's gathering all the data. And then once it's done, it will open another tab for Internet Explorer, and from here you can just open it. So if you don't get this message immediately, is that because you already done it once, so you can just click on your tabs because it will be there. So use open it. You will give you this message about the format, which is okay, and here you have all your data. So this is helpful for, like, if you ever want to run a report or whatever you have open, and you want to have it in a list. So here you have your container numbers, the quantities, and when they ported. So for example, this will be useful if you are sorting this by oldest. You will say, like, wait a minute, I have 3 containers from April, right? So if this is too old, then maybe something is wrong, which, by the way, these are probably too old. So maybe we want to do some research on these 3 containers, because according to the data, these containers hit the port in April 1st. So it's been a long time. So we want to find these containers. So this is an example of how it will be useful. Right? Alright, so let me pause this. So that's the way you do an extract, or you pull the data for containers that are open. And you know you're doing so because we have a check mark here. Automatically the system, when this form is opened up, it automatically opens with this check mark here in open containers only. If you want to find out containers that you have processed already, then you change the check mark from open to processed. And then for this, as time goes by, you will have a lot of data here. So to restrict it, then you can put a receive date to and from. Otherwise, you will have too much data, and the system probably is going to give you an error telling you that you are doing very large query. But in this case, because of out of IN1, we have not been doing a lot of operations for a long period of time. Maybe this list is not that big. So I want to pull everything that is being processed thus far. So now we change from container status to close. And here it has the container quantity and the receive quantity. So just like we did earlier, you can just extract this if you want to have it in a form that you can just view quickly instead of being limited by this 10 records. You can just export it to Excel. Here it's telling you that there is too many records, but you can just click here, continue to the end. And again, it's completed and opened a new tab for Explorer. And here you can just click open. It gives you this message about the format again. This is fine. You can just expand your columns, and then you can just manipulate this, use this data for whatever purpose you need. Like your list, received by, quantity, and all that stuff. So this is a function of Oracle that I think you guys can find beneficial or useful. All right, let me pause this again. Okay, so here we are talking about process containers, and it has the container quantity, what was the quantity that was received, and it's giving you status container of close. This is information pertaining to the first step of receiving, which is the receiving form. There may be a situation for a couple of reasons, whether it's a system error or we just forgot. We did the first portion of the receiving and we forgot to do the second one, the delivery. So there'll be a scenario where we receive something but it's still pending the second step. So for that, we'll go to the delivery form. So we can close this. And now we go to the delivery form. So here we can do the same thing. You can enter IN1, and let's say that you want to find out if you have any containers that you have received but you have not delivered or put away. So in this case, again, you can just leave the container number blank and just click open receipts. And it's thinking, and it's going to give you anything that is open, meaning it has gone through the first step, but we still have the second one to complete. And right now the system pulled one record. So this container was received in June 13th. It went through the first step, but we still have the second one to complete. So again, this can happen because either we have a system put it on like a hang up status and finally made it, or the user, we just forgot to do it. But this is one way to clean up your deliveries. So in this case, we have one container that is still pending the second step. So that's one way to find out if something is pending. Very similar to the receiving form. If you want to find out what everything you have processed, you can just clear this, change the check mark from open to processed, enter your warehouse, and click find. And here is going to give you all the containers, the receipt number. This is okay in case the one day. This is important in case one day you forgot to write down the receipt number, which I think is part of your procedure. You can come back here and retrieve it this way. So you have the container number, you can just do a query and then you can find the receipt number. And just as the other forms, you are able to export data from here. Alright, so let me pause this. Alright, so we are talking about doing searches and queries for data of containers. If one day you're looking for something that you don't have the container number, you can use any of these other fields here to track that container. Right, so you don't know the container number, but you do remember that you received it on a specific date. So in this case, you can just select the day that you remember you received it. In this case, we're doing June 8th, and you click. We're looking for stuff that we process, so you say process records. Okay, as long as you have this expanded to the maximum, because right now it looks like it's expanded, but it is not. I mean, right now it's expanded, I'm sorry. I'll show you the other way. So here, the form in Oracle looks like it's expanded because it's taking over the entire screen, correct? But it's not. Because when you do a query and nothing comes up, the system is giving you an error message here on the left bottom corner. But because the form is not fully expanded, we don't see it. So it's always advised that you expand to the maximum. So here you go to this little box here and say maximize. We maximize it, and now you can see the error or the message. You see, query caused no records to be retrieved. So then you know that nothing happened. Every now and again, if something has an error or something, it will give you an error here. So that is important, because if one day you're having troubles with something and the system is not letting you do something, you can see what the reason is. And then you can send us an email and say like, well, this transaction is giving me this error. So that'll be easier for whomever's going to be helping you fix it to know exactly what went wrong. So the takeaway from this is, even though the screen looks like it's maximized, it's not. So just always go and click maximized for you to be able to get these errors. All right, let me pause this again.